How did New York Giants quarterback Tommy DeVito do in his big test against the New England Patriots defense? That and more from the Giants Week 12 game against the Patriots coming your way next on the Locked On Giants podcast.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode of the Locked On Giants podcast is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Hello, New York Giant fans, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast family, your team every day. My name is Patricia Traina, P-Train. And the Giants, ladies and gentlemen, winners of a 10-7 game against the New England Patriots. Not a very pretty looking game, but a win is a win, as we say. And the Giants were able to win largely on the part of the defense, largely on the part of the arm of Tommy DeVito. We're going to talk about all that on today's show. We'll start off with talking about DeVito, who faced a big test with that New England defense. Then in segment 2, we've got to touch upon an unexpected report that popped up on Sunday, and that is there something going on between Brian Daboll and defensive coordinator Wink Martindale? We'll touch on that, and then we'll have a few final thoughts to wrap up this show. So thank you, as always, for tuning in, making us your first listen of the day, or if you watch on YouTube, your first watch of the day. Can we talk about the pride of New Jersey here? Tommy DeVito, man, what a game for this kid. Now, look, you guys are going to say, Pat, he only scored one touchdown. Calm down. This isn't the second coming of Tom Brady. I didn't say that. But considering the circumstances, considering what the coaches have asked this kid to do, considering what he has shown he's able to do, what's not to like here? All right, well, I'll tell you what's not to like. He holds the ball too long. You know, some of the sacks that he's taking, they're on him for holding that ball too long. But if you look at Tommy DeVito's game, you see a quarterback who's confident. You see a quarterback who is having fun. You see a quarterback whose internal clock is functioning. You see a guy who does a great job of throwing the ball on the money where it needs to be, hitting a receiver in stride. You'd see a guy who is growing confident more and more in his voice and his leadership, and a kid who basically, if something bad happens on the play before, or if the play doesn't work, shakes it off and moves on to the next one. So that's what you're seeing in Tommy DeVito, the pride of Cedar Grove, New Jersey. Now, DeVito in this game, 17 of 25 for 191 yards. He was sacked 6 times. Again, most of those sacks on him. Couple on the pass protection, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, no turnovers. That includes interceptions and fumbles, by the way. Passer rating 103.9. That I saw a stat. I think that's the second best passer rating amongst quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks in the NFL. So DeVito is getting it done. And he's having fun, and he's building rapport with his receivers. Jalin Hyatt catching, I think it was 109 yards. First Giants receiver to have a 100-yard receiving game in 19 regular season games. And Jalin Hyatt actually told us a story in the post-game walk-around about DeVito. He said that DeVito in pregame warm-ups doesn't throw to his receivers. And he found that a little bit odd, as did I when I first heard it. And he asked him about it, and basically DeVito said, I don't need to. Now, that might sound cocky. That might sound like, he's taking a shortcut. But the kid, from what I understand, works his tail off in the meetings, in practice. He's constantly going over stuff with his receivers. And he just seems to have a rapport And I think a big part of that rapport is the fact that he puts the ball in the right place for his receivers. Now, what is the ceiling for DeVito? If you watched a show from a few weeks back, the one that I had Eli Manning on and also DeVito's trainer felt that, Tommy could become a QB1, which, you would expect him to say. Personally, I think right now DeVito's ceiling is possibly QB2. I think against Belichick's defense, which again has a lot of funky pre-snap and post-snap movement that can confuse guys, the kid passed the test. Again, no turnovers, no, major mistakes, where there's some throws that maybe he'd like to have back. Sure, there were. There's always going to be that. But he passed the test. And now with Tyrod Taylor set to come off of IR, presumably he'll be eligible to come off IR after the bye week. Everybody figured, okay, Tyrod Taylor will go back and be the starter. I'm not so sure of that. Brian Daboll didn't make any announcements, but for what it's worth, DeVito, in my opinion at any rate, has earned the right to continue as the team's starter. He has done nothing to suggest that it's too big for him, that the game is too fast for him, that, he's overwhelmed. And, what you got to love about this kid, in addition, is the fact that when he has a bad play, he forgets about it and moves on to the next one. So he's so even-keeled about it. And just, the numbers aren't going to blow you away. Let's not, kid ourselves. He's not the second coming of Tom Brady. He's not the second coming of Kurt Warner. But he's getting the job done. And at the end of the day, isn't that all you could ask for from your quarterback? And the other thing about DeVito, which is kind of cool, very humble, very realistic. He takes a lot of flack for living at home and having his mom cook for him and make his bed and everything like that. But my gosh, if that's behind him being able to do what he's doing, then every player on that team should go live at home and have, somebody cook for them and do their laundry and all that stuff, because it's obviously working for Tommy DeVito. So DeVito, QB1 right now. In the future, what does it hold for him? A lot's going to depend on Daniel Jones. If he's ready to go for training camp, or is he going to be ready to go for the start of the season? Nobody knows that just yet. I don't think Jones has officially started his rehab after just having, the surgery last Wednesday. But here's how I kind of see the quarterback situation playing out for the Giants. I think you're going to have them maybe move on from Tyrod Taylor, because, no disrespect to him, the poor guy keeps getting hurt in the 2 years that he's been with the Giants, and he would cost a lot to retain. So at the very least, DeVito might be able to be your QB2 moving forward, at the very least. Now, who's your QB1? Presumably it would be Jones if he's ready, but, will the Giants consider drafting at that spot? Well, right now they sit 6th in the draft order. They're falling out of the range to get one of those top quarterbacks without having to trade up. So I do think they will add another quarterback, whether it be a veteran, whether it be, a draft pick. I do think a draft pick makes the most sense, especially if they want to move on from Jones down the line. But right now, kind of a muddy picture there. But you got to feel better overall in that DeVito is showing that, coming in at level 1, if you will, playing quarterback 101 at the NFL level, he's passing with flying colors. No pun intended. So, all right, coming up next, what's going on with Wink Martindale and Brian Daboll? I'll tell you what I know right after this. Hey, Giant fans, these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available, right? So that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. I myself have used LinkedIn Jobs to find aspiring writers and editors for the Giants Country site that I run over on SI's Fan Nation, and the process is not only super easy, but a big time saver. Simply add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so that you can quickly prioritize whom you'd like to interview and hire. So don't spend time sorting through endless resumes and dead-end leads. Put LinkedIn jobs to work for you today for free by visiting linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. Terms and conditions apply. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Life can sometimes drag us down, leaving us with more questions than answers. Life-changing decisions and events can challenge our coping skills and call our confidence in making decisions into question. BetterHelp can provide you with the guidance you need to become empowered in your decision-making process. BetterHelp is entirely online and is designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And if you find that your assigned therapist turns out not to be a match, you can switch it anytime for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Locked On Giants podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Traina. Thank you, as always, for tuning in, making us your first listen of the day, or if you watch on YouTube, your first watch of the day. Coming up on the Locked On Giants podcast this week, Joe Shane is going to speak on Monday to the media. So I will have takeaways and thoughts for you on that. I'll try and get that show out to you Monday as opposed to holding it for Tuesday. Then, of course, the bye week kicks in. The players are off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, returning to work on Monday. But we at the Locked On Giants podcast are not off. So on Wednesday, I'm going to have Emery Hunt on the program. We're going to talk draft, and we're going to kind of review, the Giants where they're at right now. Then on Thursday and Friday, I'm going to air a 2-part interview with Pratik Patel. He is the former nutritionist, part of the Giants assistant coaching staff from the Ben McAdoo era. He was also on the staff, I think, for the beginning of the Joe Judge era. So we're going to talk about that with him. We're going to talk about the injury situation is basically what we're going to discuss. Really good interview, 2-part with Pratik. We talked about injuries, what could be done to prevent them, why they're possibly having as many. Some really good stuff. You will not want to miss those interviews. That is Thursday and Friday show. And then next Monday, we're going to have the airing of grievances. Yes, my own version of Festivus, where I air my grievances with what the Giants have done to get to where they're at right now. So that's all coming up on Locked On Giants. All right, let's talk this report that Jay Glazer, the great Jay Glazer of Fox Sports, shared on the pregame broadcast. And he suggested that there is strife between head coach Brian Daboll and defensive coordinator Wink Martindale. And it has gotten to the point where a separation, a parting of ways, rather, is basically going to happen at some point, or it could happen, I should say, whether it be sooner or later as in after the season. Here's kind of what I know about it so far, and I'm sure Wink is going to get asked about this the next time we talk to him. But Daboll, as you can predict, downplayed it. Said there's no strife. He said the only fierce argument they've had is over the last slice of pizza. And in fact, Daboll gave the game ball to Wink Martindale after the Patriots win. Maybe it was just for show. I don't know. But here's what I do know. They have had disagreements. Now, is it enough to say that, they hate each other and a parting of ways is pending? I didn't get that impression. But I'm not questioning Jay Glazer's sources because Jay Glazer is the GOAT when it comes to scoopage. The players in the locker room that we spoke to, Bobby Okereke, Kayvon Thibodeau, all basically, didn't sense that there was any kind of tension between Daboll and Martindale. Now, it could be because those guys are wrapped up in what they've got to do. But, Bobby Okereke in particular spoke about how they have fun on defense, how they're flying around, how Wink keeps it so loose. He asks for opinions, goes to the leaders, and just, gets their feedback to give them what they feel is going to make them successful. So you got to think here. The report said that the separation or the departure, mutual departure, could be coming sooner than later. I don't think it's going to come during the bye week, because if Daboll were going to make a change, you would think he would do it during the bye week. That would be make the most sense. You don't do it when you're just coming back, because you want to give, your new defensive coordinator, your interim defensive coordinator, a chance to kind of, settle in and get his feet wet and everything like that. Given that the Giants have won the last 2 games and they have, done well on defense, I don't think it makes sense to do anything with Wink Martindale now. Could something happen after the season? Wouldn't surprise me. There was a report a few weeks back where Daboll was thought to be considering replacing all of his coordinators. Now, I have said before that I think Mike Kafka is not going to be here next year. I think he's going to maybe look to get a college job, whether that be at Northwestern or elsewhere. But I do not think he's here next year, especially if the Giants do plan on drafting a young quarterback. I think the development of that young quarterback is going to fall on the hands of Brian Daboll. Thomas McGahee, I've mentioned him before. I think his time might be up here. And I thought of the 3 that Wink might be the safest. But the problem with Wink is that, little different personality from that of Daboll. Whereas Daboll keeps everything close to the vest, Wink can be maybe what Daboll might consider a loose cannon, in that he will come right out and be blunt with you. He'll be honest with you. So really, if that's the source of their, disagreement, that's something that they can work out. But if it's a philosophical difference, if it's, something a little different, then, I could see them maybe parting. But, the whole team, to put it on one guy and say, okay, we're going to fire you during the bye week, but we're not going to fire Kafka or McGahee. I don't see that. I really don't. But I do think, of the 3, I would say Wink is probably the safest. But again, Glazer pretty much knows what he's talking about. And I can't remember the last time he's wrong. But as for right now, I don't think anything's going to happen, nor should it. Because why upset your defensive players? You got them playing well. They're having fun. They're smiling. They're having a grand old time. Why upset that apple cart? So if a change is made, it'll probably be after the season ends. Who would they hire after that? At that point, your coaching carousel begins, and Daboll will have options. Right now, if he were to fire him, Martindale, who would he plug in there? Jerome Henderson, Andre Patterson, Drew Wilkins. I don't know if any of those guys, would be the right option. So I just don't see anything happening during the bye week, but we'll see. I've been wrong before, wouldn't be the first time, but common sense says that nothing's going to happen during the bye week, that they're just going to go, they're going to self-scout and come back and see how they can improve moving forward. All right, coming up next, some final thoughts about the Giants win over the Patriots, and that includes some thoughts about Jalin Hyatt and the defense. So please don't go anywhere. Hey, Giant fans, if you're looking for a fun and different way to play fantasy football this season, you need to check out Prize Picks. Just pick 2 or more players, predict their stats, and sit back and see how they perform. It takes less than 60 seconds to make an entry, and best of all, you can turn a few bucks into some nice cash with the right projections. Prize Picks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app, known for its quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and wide selection of players and stat types. And they offer weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts, like Taco Tuesday, when each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So what are you waiting for? Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. And that promo code is LockedOnNFL for your first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Hey, Giant fans, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you all day, round the clock, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Locked On Giants podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Traina. The Giants, winners of a 10-7 game over the New England Patriots. Some final thoughts on the game. Kind of broke it up a little bit here to talk about the Wink and the Daboll report, but I want to get back to the game now. The defense, which struggled to get turnovers earlier in the year, coming up with 3 more turnovers in this one. Interceptions by Okereke, McKinney, and Banks. Now, one of the things I'd like to see the Giants be able to do a better job of is turn these interceptions and turnovers into points. They were only able to turn one of them, the interception by Okereke, into points. So something that they could do a little bit better there. The defense was also playing without Dexter Lawrence in this game. Dexter Lawrence inactive due to a hamstring strain. Giants being safe with him, holding him out so that he could rest that hamstring. Now he's got, the full bye week. He also has the week after that to get himself right and be in there. And predictably, folks, the Giants' run defense had its share of struggles, all right? The Patriots rushed for 147 yards on 31 carries. Jordan Riley got the start for Dexter Lawrence. They ran right at him. And folks, for those of you who have been saying, why aren't the Giants playing Jordan Riley? You kind of saw why in this game. Now, Jordan Riley did have to leave the game because he suffered a finger injury. I don't think he came back. DJ Davidson stepped in for him. I'm not so sure he stopped the bleeding, but in the beginning there, it was kind of bad with Riley in there. They were running right at him. So, and in this case, you can't even say that, the Giants were giving up the run, to shut down the pass, because I think they knew that neither, Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi were going to hurt them with their arms. So, all right. Jalin Hyatt, I want to go back and talk about him for a bit. First Giant receiver in 19 regular season games to hit 100 yards receiving. He had 5 of 6 receptions. 41 yards was his long. The kid is brimming with confidence. And you know what? I've spent a lot of time talking with him and getting to know Jalin Hyatt. Real sweetheart of a kid. And folks, let me tell you something. For those of you who are wondering why Sterling Shepard is on this roster, Jalin Hyatt is a big reason why. Sterling Shepard has been coaching this kid up, giving him tips. He's been in his ear constantly. I think I've mentioned before that the two of them have lockers next to each other in the Giants locker room. And Jalin Hyatt is finally, going from being a doe-eyed rookie into a legitimate producer for this team. So really cool to see that happen. And, just the confidence that this young man has in his game. Let's see what else we got here. Just some team stats real quick. This is kind of interesting. The Giants, when they don't win the time of possession battle, as was the case this week, they only held the ball for 25 minutes, 54 seconds. They end up winning the games. It's kind of weird. The Giants, though, let's see. On third down, still a problem there. 4 of 13, 30.8%. They were outgained on yards, net yards. The red zone, they were 50%. They didn't have any goal to go scenarios. So again, just not overwhelming numbers. You put these numbers up against a better team and the Giants get blown out, but it's a step in the right direction. So, look, the confidence is starting to be restored with this Giant team. So, even though the Patriots are not very good right now, they still have a future Hall of Fame head coach running it. And the fact that they were able to do what needed to be done to win the game, the fact that, and I get it. At the end there, the Patriots missed a potential game tying field goal that would have sent the game into overtime. Point is the Giants, they've got stuff they need to clean up. They're lacking in certain areas, but they're learning again how to win, to do the little things to scrape on by. And from there, they can build up on that and potentially take the game to the next level for when they add reinforcements. So, realistically speaking, a win is a win. This was not a pretty one, but it was a big morale booster. And it gives these guys going into the bye week a lot on which they can feel good about and a lot on which they can build on when they come back from the bye week a week from Monday, today. All right, Giant fans, that's going to do it for me. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in.